I have life insurance, and about the past year, when the premium comes due, this thought comes, why do I need this? Because I really believe that I'm going to die when I choose to die. And so I'm kind of struggling with that.
We could give you the answer to this question relative to any dilemma. Should I have life insurance or should I not? When you realize that it is a matter of choosing, making a decision, I'm going to have it and lining up with it, or I'm not going to have it and lining up with it, because it is your alignment that matters. So there are those who for so long have heard from so many about the importance of it, that if they were to take the action today and just discontinue life insurance or health insurance or any kind of insurance, the action of discarding the insurance might leave them more unsettled, which means it would be detrimental to their vibrational alignment, so it's not a good choice. So there's not a right or wrong answer, have it or don't have it. It's about which decision feels best to you. You could pick either one and work to make that feel like the right decision to you, and when you align with it, it would be the right decision. For example, let's say that you've decided to have insurance, and you say, well, the premiums don't cost all that much. It's sort of like buying into a lottery, in a sense, that I may not ever need it, but if I did, it could pay off big time for my family. And because it doesn't tax me in any strong way, and it does give me, and even more importantly, my family, a sense of well-being, it's a small price to pay for that sense of well-being. So I think that's a good idea. And as you talk like that, and it feels good, everything clicks into place, then your action and your desire and your belief are all in alignment, and everything goes well for you. In other words, because it's not the insurance and the big payoff at the end that we're interested in anyway. It's the alignment. So if those thoughts and that action make it easy for you to align, then it was a good investment. So what did we just say? It might be worth spending the money so that you can have vibrational alignment. Let's say that you decide to go the other way. Let's say that you say, I get to decide when I go, and I am in vibrational alignment with well-being, and I'm not worried about a truck running over me or any sort of accident or some disease befalling me. I can feel the steadiness of my being, and there are so many places that I could happily put those dollars, and putting the dollars into insurance sort of is like bargaining on something that I'm really not wanting to have. And so I'm in alignment with well-being. I feel absolutely secure. I'm banking on my well-being, and I know that if there were anything that were in the offing for me that might make me want to change my idea about that, I would know about it. I would sense it. I always know what to do. I'm intuitive in that way. So I have decided that I'm going to gather my insurance from vibrational alignment. You see, there's no right or wrong. We made both cases sound absolutely wonderful. And that's the thing that deliberate creating is. Humans want to say, oh no, Abraham, there's a right way and there's a wrong way. And we say, and where do you think insurance salesmen fall in on that? And aren't they the ones that are giving you most of your information about that? In other words, how many people stand to benefit by something that they want from you? And so they develop all of these stories that they drum into your consciousness that you pass on from generation to generation, until there are people all over this world, all over this nation certainly, that are scared to death because they can't afford health insurance. And we say, you don't need health insurance. You're tapped into the resources of well-being in the sky. Line up with well-being. Don't line up with the idea of tragedy befalling you, you see. But there is no right or wrong in it. In other words, we would not encourage anyone to cancel their insurance if they feel better having it.
Right. I guess where I'm at with it is that I decide when I leave, and so it's almost like I'm investing in something that I don't think is going to pay off.
Well, it's clearly not an alignment for you.
Right.
In other words, as you think about it, we can feel in your vibration that as we feel your vibration, it would be much easier for you to align with the idea of not having it. But here's the thing that's interesting. You are co-creating with others. And so let's say you have family who worry about it, who don't agree with you. Right. And what we're saying to you is you could line up either way. So why make it an issue where I'm right and you're wrong? Why not just take the path of least resistance sense and line up with well-being. And for every dollar that you spend that you could spend on other wonderful things, just feel grateful that you've got those dollars to spend and more dollars will come. In other words, there's no shortage or limit to the amount of dollars that will come to you.
Okay, I'm with you. Another question, I've observed that with my interaction with others, that I seem to have the ability to really, truly appreciate success that other people are having. And I notice that other people around me don't seem to have, that same. They seem like there's jealousy or whatever. And I really get a lot of joy and excitement out of watching somebody succeed. And I was wondering why.
This is why. You have knowing that the resource pile is unending. So you don't feel any lack when somebody else gets some of it. But somebody who does not have knowledge in the infinite stream of resources then worries when you get some that they might not get theirs. That's part of it. Here's another part of it. You now understand that you are the creator of your own experience. And we can feel that that it's just a matter of deciding and lining up with your decision, and it will be yours. So you don't have worthiness issues anymore. You're not worried about wanting something that you can't achieve. But think about somebody who hasn't come to that knowing, who really, 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 really wants something and really, really, really believes they can't have it. So they've got this tug of war going on. Then you come along or somebody else comes along and lives their dream. It's like rubbing salt in their wound. It's just amplifying their awareness that they're not where they want to be. So now, this is the thing we've been waiting to tell you. Now they're doing what we would teach them to do in moving up the emotional scale. In other words, let's recap. So I really want something and I can't figure out how to get it. And I see you or someone else getting it, which just amplifies my sense of unworthiness, my sense of powerlessness, because I've been beating my brains out. I've been trying to get it and can't, and you made it look easy, which I really resent. You probably inherited it or cheated in some way in order to get it. And so as I see you achieve something that I've been wanting, my wounds are inflamed. I feel even worse now than I did before. And now my blame of you and my criticism of you feels better than my feeling of my personal disempowerment. So we've been talking about this emotional scale, that when you feel the powerlessness of fear or depression, anger feels a whole lot better. And when you are angry about something and you did it on purpose and you acknowledge, hey, I chose an angry thought and I did it on purpose and I sure feel better than I felt in this place of fear, you have actually regained some of your power. So next time you see someone angry or jealous and then angry, we say they're angry because it feels better than jealous, because the jealous felt like disempowerment. And then say to them, if you have an opportunity, friend, I'm glad you're mad about it, because you feel better being mad than you feel in your disempowerment. And then you might even say, I know, I've been there. I remember feeling like that till I figure out that they're no better than me, they're no different than me, till I began studying what makes successful people successful. And I started noticing they talk about success, they don't talk about failure. They talk about what they want, they don't talk about what they don't want. They talk about what's coming, not about what's been happening. They talk about what will be good when it gets there, not what's bad about it not being there. So I just started mimicking people who had success, and then I started having some success. And I think that's what you're on the brink of too.
Okay. So from an emotional standpoint, anger is the empowerment side, is starting to get their power back, whereas depression or those are...
Can't you feel how disempowering fear is, and even how disempowering jealousy is? Yeah. Jealousy feels like they're smart and I'm dumb. Jealousy feels like the universe loves them or God loves them or somebody loves them and doesn't love me. Can't you feel how disempowering that is? And when you just get mad, can't you feel that you've taken a little bit of your control back? In other words, you just have to ask yourself, which feels better, fear or anger? There's no question. Which feels better, blame or guilt?
Right, blame. Yeah.
Which feels better, revenge or fear?
Revenge.
Why? Because there's more power in it. There's more, I'm doing something about it, you see. But we don't want them to get stuck there. In other words, if you were feeling frustrated, we would never coach you into anger. It's going the wrong way on the emotional scale. That's coaching you away from relief. We're trying to coach you into relief. And so relief always means moving up the emotional scale. And so if anger gives you relief, then go for it. And tell everybody else. People don't want you to be angry. They'd rather you were depressed. When you're depressed, you're quiet. You're in your room. You leave them alone.
It's true.
You're a recluse. But when you're angry, you're out there in their face. So there are a lot of people that teach you about the inappropriateness of anger.
Trying to help somebody move up the scale, I've noticed that when I talk to them about appreciating something in their life, that seems to be an easier tool for them to grasp
Depends
onto
on where they are.
than having them be grateful. Like some people say, well, just be grateful. And my observation with people, because I do coaching, is when I get them to just ask them to appreciate one little thing, it seems like it starts to.
Appreciation is a powerful tool.
Is there a difference between appreciation
there
and gratitude?
There is a vibrational difference.
Right.
You can feel it.
Yeah. Well, I could, but I just wasn't sure if it was just me or whether it's actually is a universal.
We have to say fairly that emotions and their labels are not absolutely accurate, because a variety of people could use the same word and mean different things by it.
Yeah.
So it's better to feel your way. In other words, we don't care what word you use. When we first began talking about emotions or about desire or about wanting, Jerry and Esther got endless letters from people who thought we were using inappropriate words. And we say the words don't matter. It's the feeling behind the word that matters. In other words, if you say, I want something, and in saying, I want that, it reminds you that you don't have that, and not having that is the strongest vibration, then it doesn't matter what word you use. People would say, well, Abraham, shouldn't I say I'm already there instead of I'm on the way to being there? And we say, you just have to find what feels best to you. And since everybody's in a different place on a different subject, then each individual just has to feel their way up the scale. There are a number of things we want to say to you. When you're coaching someone into appreciation, if they're not somewhere in the vibrational proximity, they're not going to enjoy your game anyway. Mm-hmm. Somebody in fear, unless you change the subject, is not going to find appreciation. The vibrational gap is too far, you see. And so we would like to say to you as longtime teachers, as you are longtime teacher, that if you will just accept that those that are ready for the bridge that you can provide are making their way to you, and those that aren't ready for your bridge are ready for somebody else's bridge. And what we mean by that is, if you're vibrating up here in joy and ecstasy and appreciation, and someone's down here in revenge or rage or fear or despair, while you really want to help them, you can't really relate to them, and they can't really relate to you unless somebody does a quantum leap sort of thing. And we're not encouraging you to quantum leap into their vibration just so you can lead them out of the darkness, because once you quantum leap, you're in the darkness, and you're not any better guide than they are, you see. So we would coach appreciation. But let's say someone's down here in despair. Trying to teach them gratitude might be an easier bridge for them than appreciation. What is the equivalency? What is gratitude about? Let's see if we can define it. Gratitude is recognizing that we can't find an accurate vibrational basis for gratitude. That's what you're getting at. We were polling your vibration as we throw the word gratitude out. At the vibrational basis of it, there is disempowerment, because it says someone other than me holds the power. And I'm grateful that someone other than me who holds the power is now giving some of it to me. Now, it's a subtle difference between appreciation, but that's really the heavy part of gratitude. There's a sort of disempowerment in it, a sort of, I'm on my knees and thankful for the crumbs that are being thrown. Now, everybody that uses the word gratitude doesn't necessarily mean that, but that is the vibrational consensus that we are gathering here.